And when we're talking about that, I've always wondered this. Like, there has to be somebody who found gold, millions of dollars, did something, 10-digit
Oh, I'm
grid,
sure.
10 feet down. And now we're just waiting for that moment to be able to go back and fly in or, go across the border. Like before, like the invasion, like when all of the art was stolen from the
Yeah.
museums, all the stuff from
Well,
ancient
absolutely.
Mesopotamia.
What's that one movie?
Well,
Monuments
three,
Man.
yeah, with Three
Three Kings
Kings and
is
Monument
one, and
Men,
then
yeah,
yeah,
Monument Men, yeah, which I thought was just like, even though it was just wasn't really an action packed, just had such good actors and a great
there's got to be some
story.
truth
Yeah.
to it.
Oh, absolutely, no, 100%. They still have, there is still those stories about that when they realized the war was over, a number of people were taking gold, on with donkey and carts going through the mountains and whatnot,
But bro,
and
where
there's,
the fuck did all that gold and all that money go? We know
oh.
Saddam was fucking loaded. He
Mhm.
probably had the most gold out of everybody in the Middle East. Where the fuck did all that shit go?
You
You
know
know?
what, man? It's the same thing like within Afghanistan. Like, I have buddies who kind of really do deep dives and whatnot. And I think it was like, is it Chase, the bank? They were like, they're mining incredible amounts
Hmm.
of gold and just rare earth minerals. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they've
It's
been
like,
doing it
holy,
for the entire time we were there.
yeah. And here we are, just dumb soldiers, just okay,
I
we'll go
know,
patrol.
I know,
Everybody's
and
making
just
all that
like,
money.
yeah. Oh, I had
Yeah.
buddies who, I mean, like they came across like, huge just bricks of gold and whatnot, and then their LTs would be like, "Hey, give me that back." No,
Oh,
no,
fuck you, LT. No,
Yeah,
court
I
martial me
know,
right now. I got enough to
I
make.
know,
Dude,
I know.
if I found a couple of gold bricks in Afghanistan,
Uh-huh.
I would probably just go back to the barracks and fucking refuse to do everything. And be like, you know what? Send me back to the States. I
Yeah.
will. I will find a way to get this back, but I'm fucking done.
I
But dude,
always thought
all
of
that shit, somebody had to snatch it up,
Yeah,
man.
I always
It's
thought about it
wild.
this way: is finding like a piece of like non-essential part to a vehicle of some sort,
Yeah.
and then basically making a mold and melting the gold down and just replacing the part, spray painting
Yep.
it, doing whatever. That was kind of
Oh
my
yeah. There's a lot of ways to get creative. Not like dumb SF dudes that fucking stuff cash into a magazine, try to
yeah,
smuggle it back, knowing that customs is gonna check the magazine because that's the
yeah,
one thing that they're looking to make sure rounds don't get back on the plane. But yeah,
yeah.
but even with Syria now, Assad just got fucking ousted. Bro, you saw his garage with all the cars, all the painting, and I was like, oh my lord, I wish I had some superpowers. I would just
I
teleport
know,
myself and
I
just fucking
know.
clean
Trust
house,
me.
right? Oh
Yeah.
man,
Oh,
so
and
many
it's
opportunities.
yeah, and that's exactly what I was about to say. Just the missed opportunities. It never happened to me.
Yeah.
I wasn't the
But
lucky enough
knowing what I
guy.
know now, if I
Yeah.
could fucking teleport myself back into my younger body, I would have made
Hmm.
sure it happened to me. I would have went looking, you know?
Well,
So
so
absolutely.
I had a bunch of guys like, and so essentially, this is when Bitcoin, I want to say it was just a couple cents per coin, and what they
Hmm.
would do is they would, buy $60,000 worth of Bitcoin and wait for it to go up, like 5 cents, and they'd sell it, and they just randomly did that. So the amount of coins that they've had run through their wallet, they would be like trillionaires. And I
I
mean,
think
just like there's,
everybody I think everybody has those stories, man. Like I had
mm-hmm,
one it's pretty similar. It was a supply guy. And well, the group at this point, nerdy supply guy comes in, hey, buy Bitcoin. You're like, shut the fuck up, nerd. Throw a boot at him, tell him to get out.
yeah,
And now we're like, oh god, I should have listened to that
mm-hmm,
dude.
yeah, you're like, oh,
Oh man, so many missed opportunities. All right, we'll get into this one. What's going on, folks? Welcome back to Dark Arts Coffee. Right today, I have Stuart McKenzie on. Um, wanted to get back into I wanted to jump into his origin stories. You guys saw the intro. Support the podcast. Go to darkartscompanyco.com and grab fuck that one up. Go to darkartscoffeecompany.com, grab you a bag of coffee, and support the effort, right? With all that said, Stuart, there's 3 questions. Well, 5 questions. I just added 2 to it today that I typically ask every guest before we jump into it. Um, always there's always some type of unique answers to these, so we'll jump right into them, and then we'll get into your origin story. First one being the last book you read, and what was it about? I see a display back there of some books.
Yeah, gosh,
Dad
last book
jokes,
I
that's what it
read.
is.
Yeah, there's dad jokes and there's, Call Sign Chaos and then like bucket list. It's a lot of like just kind of like history stuff. I enjoy as far as like learning about the just the stuff that we've kind of gone through. And a lot of like what's been kind of grabbing my attention as of lately is just like whether or not there was like civilizations before us. You know what I mean? Like our history books, right? And all the other things and all the coincidences that we find around the world. And then just kind of the people coming together that are, starting to like kind of rebuff against what is the norm.
Yeah,
So,
which
yeah.
I would like to believe there had to be something before us. Like there just has to be, right?
Well, they say,
Um,
it's basically like yeah, if everyone was to drop dead tomorrow, everything was to stop, 150,000 years, you wouldn't be able to see anything. Nothing would be really that would be left of us. And then, like, let's say if there's a couple pole shifts or anything like that, where massive, like, just catastrophic storms, there's a really good chance with Earth being around for 4.5 billion years that, yeah, there is something that we missed.
oh yeah, and I'm sure the archaeologists and all the stuff they found, like there has to be, which makes you
Mm-hmm.
think, like, man, does this happen? Is it a cycle, right? Is there
Mm-hmm.
gonna come a time where we're gonna be, the ones that have faded away, and then there's gonna be a new generation or a new species inhabiting the earth, and they'll be digging up our bones and being, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
wonder if there was civilization here before. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
always
yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, good one there. All right, so next question for you. If you had a time machine and can change any main event in history, what would it be and why?
Wow, that is just kind of something that would be pretty crazy. I would say, actually, I would go back and stop the burning of the what is it, the Library of Alexandria. I would stop the burning where we lost an immense amount of history um, uh, that predates a lot of things. Like, but yeah, there was a lot of stuff that we lost. It was Alexander the Great. He made a library, and then during one of the conquests, where his city was overtaken, they burned it to the ground. So I'd probably stop that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right, this next one. So if the government gave you a black budget, no supervision, gave you a shit ton of expert, what mission would you undertake and why?
Ooh, what mission would I undertake? I would probably go and root out, I would find out what's going on with the banking system. And I would 100% figure out who's actually kind of pulling the worldwide strings. Because, I mean, with everything that was kind of being uncovered and whatnot, before the internet, you know what I mean? Like we didn't have 24-hour news cycles and we had, what the newspapers said and what Walter Cronkite said was kind of
Yeah,
that was law. That was it.
yeah,
And so I would say I would start unraveling that string and go back and kind of find the source.
yeah. I was watching a documentary the other day. Name of it was Titans Who Built America. They talked about Henry Ford, J.P. Morgan Jr., DuPont,
Mm-hmm.
Boeing, and all these guys, and just
Yeah,
just
the
just just
Vanderbilt. Yeah.
watching the amount of power and influence those guys had and
Mm-hmm.
during their era. I can
Mm-hmm.
only imagine what's going on now. Like I could
Oh
only
yeah.
imagine.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just
I
mind
mean,
blowing.
when they talk about like the richest man in the world, they say it's Elon Musk, but I would have to say it's probably like Putin. You know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean? Like he has complete access to Russia's banking system. And that's just what's on the surface. That's not what's over here, what's there. And so, yeah, I think we'd be all really, really, really surprised who's on whose speed dial.
yeah, yeah. And the way the world actually works, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because it's one of those things. Being in the military, we get a glimpse of how things operate, right? As far as who actually runs the world, and then you get, you know, behind like the closed doors, the top secret and super secretive stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, I don't know shit, and I'm sure there's
Hmm.
levels and levels and levels to that we don't even get to see,
Yeah.
and that's, yeah, and I don't think I want to see it, man. I really don't
Yeah.
think I
No.
want to.
Well, there's some. I mean, I got a couple buddies who like to go down those rabbit holes and pull those strings. And I remember they'll try and talk to me and tell me about it. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I don't want to. You know what I mean? Like, stop texting me. You know what I mean? Like, Yeah.
Bury my head in this sand and just let me
Yeah.
be, right?
Yeah.
Yes, some things I don't want to know, right?
Yeah.
All right, so here's the last one. Well, this is number 4, and then I have one last one for you. Um, what's one of your truth that you believe would get you canceled today? All right,
One of
what's
my
one truth?
truths.
Yeah,
Mm,
you believe if
damn.
you were like,
You know, yeah. No, I honestly, one of my truths is that like I'm a pretty old-fashioned guy. Like
yeah,
I really enjoyed like being raised in the 80s and the 90s, and I just I believe men are stronger than women. I don't think that we should be mixing in sports or anything else. I think that women staying home and raising the family and being the core dynamic that holds everything together, they're the ones that raise the children, keep the man in line, and focused and driving forward to provide a better life for everybody that's in the household. I mean, that's I'm very big proponent on that. Like
yeah.
that's what I feel like things work out a lot better when that happens.
Me and you both, man. And I don't know why the military hasn't really understood that, because when I look at it, I was like, okay, the society itself hasn't changed that aspect of it as far as there's the NBA and there's the WNBA, right?
Mm,
There's baseball, there's softball. So the society's still doing it. However, the military, I feel like is trying to be like the leader in it by saying female in special operations. And I'm like, bro, like, because just like you, like I'm old fashioned, like I'm an '80s baby like you, dude. When I'm on the battlefield, like I'm just wired to protect, right? If regardless of what's going on, right? If my buddy's getting shot at, I'm like, he motherfucker, he went through the same fucking training I did. He's got it. But the CSTs or the fucking driver that's a female, if she's pinned down, I'm going. That's just how I'm wired. Like, call me old fashioned, call me whatever you want. It doesn't change the way that I was raised, right? I don't
mm-hmm.
look at it as, oh, she's an equal, she can figure it out. It's like, no, man, like that's that's just it is what it is, right? And I feel
Yeah,
like the
no.
military's lost its way a little bit.
Yeah, no,
But
and I have nothing against it. I've just and I've worked with females like in shooter situations, and nothing bad. I mean, I don't want to say like anything bad about it. It's just that I feel like they have certain things that they're a lot better at,
yeah,
and we have certain things that we're a lot better
I
at.
always
And
say it's not that they it's not whether they could, it's whether they should. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah,
I'm
I'm
down for
sure they
that.
can
Yeah,
fucking do it. I'm sure they can
yeah.
fucking do it, but it
Well,
shouldn't. You know what I mean?
my aunt is like one of those chicks that like she 100% could probably keep her own with us,
Yeah.
but she's very few and far between. You know what I mean? And so I don't know whether it's because like you were talking about, like that there's this really big push to put them there and or I mean with social media and everything like that is kind of a career for afterwards. You know what I mean? But I feel like girls feel like they have something to prove when they don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
No,
I
no,
mean?
no,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, it's weird time that we live in, man. Like I feel like there's been a shift and everything's kind of going the other way with g- girl boss and all that. I'm like, dude,
Hmm.
I
Well,
just want to
like
lead.
every
I just want to provide. I just want to protect, and I want
yeah,
somebody
and
that appreciates that. That's it.
yeah, exactly. And I love that. That is probably the best way to put it. And you can see it in society today. You know what I mean? Like name a good movie that's come out in the past 5 to 10 years. You know what I mean? And everything's just girl boss to death. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
where there's a 110-pound female beating the shit out of a 250-pound trained killer. You know what I mean? And I don't care how good your technique is. I don't care all of these things. You know what I mean? Like where I'm sorry, a man is just with testosterone and everything else. It just it's physics. And I mean, even still, like you might run into a UFC chick that could choke you the fuck out and end your life.
Yeah.
Very few and far between.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
And on the battlefield, I don't really want to risk that.
Mm-mm. No, not at
I
all.
I
Not at all.
I don't want to find out. No, I'm good.
And I
I'm
bet you,
good. So
honestly, to tell you the truth, like with guys, and maybe and this is us being selfish, is that would fuck me up far more seeing a girl blown up and bleeding and crying than seeing a dude. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that would be a really, really terrible sight.
And and you bring up a good point, right? Because on the battlefield, I've seen, because we have to keep in mind there's a you know a certain aspect to it as far as biology, right? Like I can see you get blown up on the battlefield, your fucking legs are missing, and I
Hmm.
automatically go to battle drill,
Hmm.
whatever I was taught, right? Tourniquet, fucking get you behind safety. Like I can do that and keep the
Hmm.
emotions in check. And I'm not saying every female is gonna break down, but what happens when that fucking badass chick have a fucking Ronda Rousey moment, where she
Hmm.
doesn't fucking show up? Like what
Yeah.
happens where,
Hmm.
something's going on at home or whatever, and then, your arms are blown up and she needs to get to work and she can't because she's emotionally elsewhere. Like, I don't need to, if I'm the one that's missing a limb, or like, I don't want to fucking find out, right? I'd rather
Yeah.
not roll the dice. That's just me
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, and even so, like I mean, I'll tell. So like, actually, I'll let you remind me of that. I'll let you ask the next question, and I'll talk about my hand. And
I
there's
got you.
actually a good story about that.
Yeah, I got you. And then last one before we jump into the podcast, guys. The best cup of coffee you've ever had, and where were you at?
Ooh, best cup of coffee I've ever had. It might have been in China. There was a
Nice.
Starbucks, yeah, a Starbucks in Beijing that was pretty good. We went there on a vacation because yeah, we were there for like I think I want to say it was 52 hours. And it was just kind of because anything over 72, you have to get a visa, which takes 6 months. And yeah, so we went there, saw the Great Wall and Titanium Square and the Emperor's Palace. And so there was a Starbucks right across the street from me, and they make a really good cup of coffee.
I tell you what, that's one location that I need to add to the list as far as, because I'm sure there's some historical fucking sites over there that
It was it was
definitely, yeah.
it was pretty crazy. Like so, like I said, it was just a whirlwind. We were trying to get as much done in the time that we had, and on our way to Titanium Square, there's just, I mean, huge, obviously, like ways. And I think we were on like there was like 8 lanes, 8 lanes. Well, this one side was completely blank. There's nothing on there, and I was just kind of like, well, that's odd. And we're in bumper to bumper traffic, and then all of a sudden this motorcade just zips by, and we had a guide, so picked us up from the airport, was with us the whole time, dropped us off, and anyway, he was like Kim Jong Un, and I was like, huh? And he's like, Kim Jong Un just passed, and I was like, really? So like the leader of North Korea just like passed. I could have reached out and touched the motorcade.
You could have ended it all right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, so the guy who was watching over us, there was a couple times where I was like, I don't know if this guy's actually supposed to be as a tourist because he'd ask me just off the cuff questions and they would somehow lead into something political. And then also like when I went to go get that cup of coffee, they were supposed to pick us up. I want to say it was like 9, and so because of the time difference and whatnot, because we had just flown in, uh, obviously we were up early, and so I went down, and him and a couple other guys were sitting in a van just like probably about 2 blocks away, and I saw. And I was like, well, you guys are here awfully early. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, that's a little odd, but all right. Yeah, yeah. So
I know what you're doing, motherfucker. I know exactly what you.
I was, yeah, I had a pretty good idea. I'm like,
Uh,
okay.
that's funny, but yeah. With all that said, folks, we'll jump right into it. You want to hit your arm real quick, and then we'll grab into, or we'll jump into where you're from, upbringing, and what led you to joining the military.
Yeah, so you want me to tell you about the injury?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I was, oh God, I just turned 22. So we're in Iraq. We were supposed to only be there for 6 months. 3 month mark, they, pulled us in off a 5 day mission, and we were completely drenched, like just absolute miserable sons of bitches. And they were like, "Oh, we're extended to a year," and we're all like, "Well, all right, awesome." And then so as
What
things are
year was
going,
this?
oh God, this was in. So we entered country September 11th, 2003. And so
Okay.
this like when my injury happens, it's about 7.5 months later. And so, well, the morning of, and it was really weird. So like, I mean, for the first 6 months, extremely stoked, ready to kill, loved every minute of it. And then one day I just woke up and I was just like, I want to go home. Yeah, I mean, everything had changed, everything was different. And I was like, I don't know what, but it was a night and day. Like woke up, went to bed, woke up, everything was different. And I was almost like, I almost started getting scared. Like I'm like, something is going to happen to me. Something's going to
Isn't
like, I
that
just could,
fucking crazy, man? Because
yeah,
it's almost
yeah,
like a sixth sense
yeah.
of like you can just feel it. Like I've had moments
Hmm.
where it's overwhelming and you just know today
Hmm.
something's gonna go wrong.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
at least in my
And,
case, it's never failed me. It's fucking wild.
mhm. Yeah, and so I was just like, oh my, I don't know how to really explain this, but and so things kind of progress and go on, and then well anyway, so it comes down to well, the battalion had gone out on a raid, and they were basically like the scouts are like, hey, you guys pick the day off, we don't need you. And we're all like, really? I'm like, okay, because usually we'd go in like either 24 to 48 hours before the battalions would raid, and we would set up OPs and just watch. And so if any like if we would just alert them to any activity, if our presence was known, and if there was any any bad guys kind of setting things up, we would be able to initiate engagement with our M24 sniper rifles. And so, yeah, like they go out, and so we wake up and we go to breakfast, and it was like nobody's in the camp. The only people that are in the camp are the mortars and QRF, and then the tower guards. That's it. And so, I mean, you get eerily quiet, and we go into the chow hall, and it was a last minute raid, so they had cooked for an entire battalion. So they're like, "Hey, you guys can eat as much as you want." You know what I mean? Like, all the food's going to go to waste anyway. And so we're like, "Oh, all right, cool." And then so eat, we go back and we're sitting kind of in our racks, just dicking around. And then about 30 minutes later, they come up to us and say, hey, Lieutenant Colonel has to go meet the mayor of Iskandarya emergency meeting. And so it's going to be you guys, like scouts and mortars, you guys are going to be doing the escort. And we're like, what do we mean? Like, we've never done this before. It's not in our wheelhouse whatsoever. And so we go down, do the mission brief, figure out the routes, do everything. And so we're like, okay, I guess, this is, on the job training. We'll do this. So we go the whole thing. And then it was even weirder was that the LT for the mortars, he stopped everybody and made everyone get out. And he basically was like, led a prayer. And I'm like, this is weird again. You know what I mean? And then so I'm just like, oh, so we get into the vehicles, everything's fine going there, and Iskandarya is probably from our fob, probably like 45 minutes to an hour, of driving and weaving in and out and doing everything like that. And so go, and where the mayor's cell is located, it's almost in like a train yard or was. And so it's one way in, one way out, long stretch. And there's this tunnel that you have to go under, you know what I mean? And so it forces people to kind of slow down and bunch up. And so we go, meeting goes without a hitch. And then on the way back out, I can't remember, I think we were a 12 vehicle convoy. And I was riding in the last vehicle. It was a 998 troop carrier. So, I mean, we're open back. And this is before, the whole armor thing kind of came up. So we had the Haji armor that we had, everyone had made and
The
put on
fucking metal
themselves.
fabricated shit.
Metal
Yeah.
fabricated shit that had, a
Yeah.
little space in between to catch the 7.62. And yeah, so we're sitting there, and last vehicle, everything's fine. So me and this guy named Shane Pitts are like, I'm basically sitting on one side, he's sitting on the other, and we're doing cross, so we didn't have to do the turnout. And well, anyway, so last vehicle, and we're like slowing down, so everyone came to a T intersection, taking left, and so we're just like slow roll, slow roll. And then all of a sudden, just the most incredibly violent, loudest bang. Like, but it was so crazy in the fact, like, I heard the bang and I heard the very first beginning of it, and then it was like quiet. You know what I mean? But like the flashes were so bright. And I remember everything just kind of slowed, and I could just see like dust and rocks. And I was just like, and then it felt like someone came up with like a bat or hammer or something and hit me in the hand, where I was like, what the fuck? And then so I looked down, and this is all of a sudden like, everything's ringing, all whatnot. And, I'm still seeing kind of flashes, and like it just, everything was so bright, and like seeing stars. And I remember I held my hand up, and so you can kind of see like the scars
Hmm.
starts right here. and then it traverses all the way around to right about there. So what I'm pinching right here was holding my hand on. And I
Mm.
mean, and so you can see from this distance to there is that far. And then you can see how small it is to there. So it wasn't like a
Yeah.
straight cut. It was just a big chunk got ripped off. And so my hand is like dangling. And then I looked down and I had this hole about yay big in my leg. And I mean, it was a massive laceration that I could stick my hand into. Immediately, I'm just like, I just got hit with a roadside bomb. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, holy shit. And I'm just kind of like looking around, and I'm like battle assessment. I'm like, what is going on? And we hear like kind of shots off, and I'm just like, are we getting shot? You know what I mean? But then I started kind of like coming to and being like, okay, I've got about 30 seconds before I bleed to death. Like I better start working. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but like we had all of our assault bags just kind of like laying down in the back and the blast, and it just shredded the entire vehicle. But I couldn't find my bag I was just like, where's my bag? Because I knew where my tourniquet was, but I didn't know where other people's, where the tourniquet was in their bag. And so I'm screaming like, I need a tourniquet, I need a tourniquet. And then like other people are saying like, I'm hit, I'm hit. And then so one of the guys jumps in the back and he's like, I got you, McKenzie. And I'm like, okay. And then so they go and they put the tourniquet on and they start wrenching it down. And we had the tourniquets that are like almost like a ratchet strap. You know what I mean? Like you'd have for like just anything, like just a regular, like just securing a load to like the back of your truck. And I mean, we're talking, they were just cranking down on this to the point where I was just like, it hurt worse than the blast itself. And I was almost even like, stop, stop. And they're like, we can't. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, I mean, and then so, they're calling for the medics and whatnot. And then the medic comes running down. And so to give you a backstory on this medic is 19 years old. We've all been there for about 7.5 months. And through injuries and just the course of deployments, he was rear D. So he'd only been in country for 2 weeks. It was his
Mm-hmm.
first mission out. You know what I mean? And so that was his introduction to Iraq and combat. And so they're basically like throw him. So he doesn't really have any friends. He doesn't have anything like that. He was the only medic that was there. So he just kind of was attached. So he was just like, and then you have all these people that are best friends with the injured saying like basically fucking fix them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So he's like kind of tunnel
Mascal.
visioned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tunnel visioned on me. And just because it's just such a blatant, just wow wound. And anyway, so he starts kind of getting in there and he's like, tries to wrap my leg and whatnot. And I'm like, hey, morphine. He's like, oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, I have these odd things, they're auto injectors. And then for anyone like at home, an auto injector, it's like a big pin and it has
Mm-hmm.
like a needle, drugs, and then CO2 cartridge. Prick the skin, needle goes in, CO2 cartridge, empties drugs into body. And so he immediately just fumbles, grabs, stabs my leg. And I'm just like, no, you know what I mean? But I had my leader's book right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so he stabs my leader's book. And then just basically, I was like, fuck. And I was like, dude. And then he's like, oh man, don't worry. I have another one. I have another one. And I'm like, oh, thank God. And so he does the sweep on my other leg. And then I'm kind of just like looking at him and he goes, and then he all just kind of had this weird look. But I was almost like waiting for the prick of the needle. Like I was almost like welcoming a different pain. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm-hmm.
would have taken it just to kind of take my mind off of it. And then he just kind of stares dead at me and just gives me the weirdest look. And I'm just looking at him like, what? And then like he takes his thumb away from the needle and I see like a little trickle of blood come down and he injected himself.
You
You know
better
what I
have
mean?
another one, motherfucker.
Oh, dude. And so I was like, where's the other one? He's like, that's all I got. And I'm like, oh my God. And we're like, I mean, keep in mind, it took us 45 minutes to an hour to get to this place. And Iskandarria is such like a hot spot at the time that we really couldn't fly. Like there'd been a number of birds that had been shot down, so we couldn't get aircraft in there. You know what I mean? So we basically, like they start kicking off patrols and trying to figure out where the trigger man's at, and we book it out or we limp it out, and we're going and essentially like and my buddy Pitts, he's like right kind of into the corner next to me, and a piece of shrapnel had gone into his side, and he ended up losing like 3 feet of intestine, punctured his bladder, hit his colon, and where the femoral arteries kind of come together and travel up the spine, it had nicked that, but the piece was so hot that it cauterized everything. You know
Mm.
what I mean? So he's projectile like exorcist vomiting over all over everything over in that corner. I'm just like, ugh, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? And then so like, yeah,
The
we're rolling
the
out. Yeah,
yeah,
and then the medic is just like,
the peace and the not peace but the laughter that you find in in
yeah,
this
oh,
situation, other
yeah,
people would be like, "What's wrong with you guys?" And we're
yeah.
like,
And well, I mean, and that's one of it's hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, pain is funny. You know what I mean?
"Yeah,
And
yeah,
now that I look back on it, you know, and I'll tell you after I get done reminding, like, so, but, you know, so we're kind of limping out and whatnot. The medic is now really high and he keeps asking me the same questions over and over again. And I'm just like, oh, shut up. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to find my mental
yeah,
groove to kind of work through this thing. And then so we kind of get outside the city and they're like, hey, you got to jump to another vehicle. And I'm like, what? And they're like, the vehicle's not running. You guys have to get out. And so I was like, okay. And so I went to grab my weapon. I looked at my M4. There's a big, huge piece of shrapnel sticking out of the magazine well, and I was just like, fuck, whatever. So I just tossed that thing and jumped out. And then, but then, like, they must have told them, like, it must have been an impromptu kind of thing. Like, not like, hey guys, we're about to switch vehicles. It was more like a, hey, our vehicle's dying. You know what I mean? Because the other vehicles were probably about 100 meters away from us. And so we had to run like a football field to get to these other people. So keep in mind, huge laceration on my thigh, and my hand is barely dangling. It's just wrapped up in gauze, and I'm just like trotting down the
no,
highway.
no fucking
Yeah,
morphine."
no morphine, no, and I'm just like, okay, like what else can go wrong? And then so we get to I get to the other vehicle, and Pitts gets onto another one, and then like so the guy, you know, pulls me into the back because I was just there was just no way I was gonna be able to climb up that thing. Um, anyway, yeah, so we're going, and I remember just like, so I was laying, we had like a tough box in the middle, and I'm just kind of staring up at the sky, and I could tell, like, I could hear the engine of the Humvee was just pinned, you know what I mean? So we're like, and everyone's just, you know, yelling, talking, this, and this. People are trying to, you know, kind of structuralize what is going on. They're trying to figure out what the, you know, what's happening back there and because I mean they're looking for the trigger man, and so we go through, and I remember just kind of looking up at that, like, and I just had this like surreal moment of just like I'm not really calm, but just like, what am I gonna do with the rest of my life? You know what I mean? Like, where am I gonna go? You know, like this is like changes everything. Like this was my entire life. This is who I am. Like, you know, I was really, really into fitness, and I was pretty sure I was losing my hand. You know what I mean? I was like possibility I was losing my leg. And so I'm just trying to like start even like there, just starting building blocks of like, okay, how am I gonna live the rest of my life? And so I'm asking them, I'm like, hey, are the birds airborne? And like, yeah, they're airborne. And it's like, but we're heading back to base, like they can't get in through here. And so yeah, so it was a long, long 45-minute drive of just staring at the
Yeah.
sky, eating the pain and being like, oh my God, you know? Yeah, so I remember we rounded the corner, and that was kind of like when my natural morphine really, like the body, like, you know, that those natural endorphins that you have, it basically my body was like, okay, that's all you got. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And
yeah,
so,
because at the heat of the moment, you're moving, you're running, the adrenaline's going, and
yeah,
now it's like the pain starts to set in, right?
oh yeah.
Fuck.
And it was like
Yeah.
just unbelievable where I mean, like I just like could not stop like just shifting and moving and being like, oh wow. And then so yeah, but and I remember we're driving down like the straightaway, and I could hear like the other like vehicle like this guy named Sergeant Hanson. I could hear him just like open the fucking gate, just screaming like open the gate because we had to serpentine through a bunch of stuff. We had a couple checkpoints, and you know they were just like you know streamline in go. And then so round the corner, and I remember just being like, okay, fuck, thank God. And then like we get inside the base, and then like we go around and go to where basically our LZ is at, and jump out, and then everyone's kind of like you'd be surprised how many people like almost attack you, like you know what I mean, start cutting your stuff off and
Mhm.
start looking around and
It's fucking
whatnot, and then
amazing, like watching it happen.
yeah,
The
yeah, you're
amount
like boom,
of
boom, boom, boom,
like the our medical core, not that fucking medic, because he clearly had a lot of
yeah, yeah, yeah,
shit going on. But once you get to like the aid station, and it's almost
mm-hmm.
like the shark attack that the drill sergeants do at basic
Yeah,
training. only it's
Mm-hmm.
medical people, and it's like they're
Mm-hmm.
cutting shit. And it's like, dude, it's pretty
Yeah.
fucking impressive.
Yeah. But so we're keep in mind, we're still out in the open, like, because they didn't take us to the aid station. They just took us straight to the LZ, and I could kind of hear the chopper blades at the time. Well, they start trying to cut my stuff off, and this guy almost like tries to take my vest off. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Like he's like almost tried to take my shit off like over my arm, and he's like, oh, sorry. And then that's right when he's like, he's got a hole in his back, and I'm like, what? You know what I mean? And so I was like, what the shit? And then so fucking thank
Jesus.
God, you know what I mean? But yeah, so and then like the at that point in time our trauma surgeon is like, looking me over and whatnot. I got a whole mag. He's like, no, you're good. You're good. Don't worry. Yep, you're fine. You're fine. I'm pretty sure he had like a talk with that medic afterwards, a bedside manner, like, dude, don't do that.
Yeah.
And then so they put me on a gurney. We're just kind of sitting there laying, waiting for the birds, like, to kind of set down and whatnot. And they just started hitting me with morphine, like one, two,
Nice.
three. And I'm like, okay. And then they were like, how you feeling? I'm like, it still fucking hurts. You know what I mean? And then what's even crazier is then our chaplain comes over to us. And the chaplain basically like just kneels down to me. I'm like, huh. And the chaplain, like me and him, like lived right next to each other.
Yeah.
Where we were at on our fob was in a hardened building, and we had a lot of like the headquarters elements like there with us. And then
What
so,
fob was
but
it? You remember?
chosen. So it was FOB
Chosen.
chosen. I
Okay.
remember we took it for overtime. So it's the Musaid power plant.
Okay. So is
So
this Iraq or Afghanistan?
oh, this is it's Iraq. So I would say
Okay.
it's on the Euphrates River, and then
Hmm.
it's probably like 20 miles south of Fallujah. About 30 miles south of Baghdad, and
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Because at
it's
that
right there.
time I was in country because I my deployment was September 2003 to September '03 to September '04, but I was up by Ramadi,
Oh,
Fallujah area.
okay, yeah. So you would,
Yeah,
yeah. We actually had a company. What the fuck was the name of that fob up there?
it
But
was
yeah,
Junction
there was.
City,
Yeah,
uh, Junction City and Kent, Manhattan, if I remember correctly.
Cat
Was
Manhattan. That was it. Yeah, that we had
Yeah, yeah,
we had a company that was up there. Yeah,
dude, that's wild because I was at Manhattan, like I was
yeah.
at
No,
Chaldea and Ramad, K Town is what they call it. So I was at Manhattan, and we did rock clearance out of there as an
yeah.
engineer company, and then we lost so many fucking people.
Yeah. Oh, it
Yeah,
was
it's
bad.
fucking
It
wild.
was, and that's
Yeah.
I try and tell people that too. Is that like during that time, and that was like the so when I got blown up was the kickoff of the most deadly month in Iraq,
Hmm.
and that's when they had almost like it was kind of like the Tet Offensive. You know what I mean? Where they just
What month was this?
unleashed. So I got blown up March 30th, 2004. So April was the
Yeah,
big offensive that they had,
yeah.
and then
So
yeah.
sorry to cut you off, but March, April. I'm trying to remember the actual date because it just passed. But that's when my squad lost 6 dudes. The entire vehicle. They had a 600-pound bomb, and it pretty much blew the entire fucking track. So to your point, those I think it was in March. I think it was March 12th.
Yeah.
Like I literally watched the fucking thing went up, and I'm like, and next thing I know is like I'm picking up fucking body parts. You know what I
Is
mean?
that me?
Yeah.
Oh no,
Um,
shit. I thought
no,
this
you're
was
good.
someone.
You're good.
Silent motherfucker. No, that's a
No, you're
fucking
good. So,
spam. Yeah.
so to your point, March fucking '04 was fucking devastating, especially for us down in
Yeah.
Kent, Manhattan, and then clearly for you guys too. But please continue.
Yeah. So, and then like one of my chaplain comes up and kneels next to me. I was like, I thought, just because we had many conversations, because he lived like literally we were next door neighbors. And anyway, but he then basically comes over me and he starts reading me my last rites, and I'm like, I didn't think it was that bad. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so he reads me my last rites, reads Pitts's last rites, and then all of a sudden Blackhawks, boom, just right overhead, and then just kind of shift, sit down, and then they pick us up, and we're on gurneys, whatnot, and then so I got put on the top rack, and I know the blades are a good distance away, no matter even if you're standing, put your head above it,
Mm-hmm.
but it felt like they were like right there on my face, and I'm like, oh Jesus. You know what I mean? And so they hook us, and then all of a sudden, once once everyone was clear, they just doosh up, and it was just such a an immediate, like almost like a when you like on the carnival rides where you shoot straight up in the air,
Yeah.
and that's a lot what it felt like. And then pivot, turn, and we're going, and then all of a sudden, like the 3 shots of morphine they hit, that really kind of kicked in. I'm like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? I'm still in pain, still everything like that. But I remember just during that ride, like looking out and just being like, please don't let us get shot down. You know what I mean? I was like, that would just be a really terrible,
Yeah.
terrible
I'm
day.
having a bad day already. It doesn't get need to
Yeah,
get any
yeah. I
worse.
really don't want to do this. And then so we're going anyway, like Pitts, the guy who's below me, he is just in really, really bad shape. The medic probably actually should have gone with him instead of me, but because mine was such an superficial out wound where, you know what I mean, like dangling hand and this, but his was far worse than me. And anyway, so the medic or the flight medic, you know, is like talking to me because I'm trying to turn over, and just for some reason, like I just wanted to turn over, and it just felt easier. And I don't know whether I kind of was getting tired, and like I don't think I would have gone to sleep. I wasn't trying to go to sleep, but there was just kind of showing signs of like things were going bad. Like there was a rapid decline in like vitals and everything else, and Pitts was in pretty like worse shape too. And I remember like somebody kept tapping the top of my head, and later I found out that was Pitts. And he was trying to keep himself awake, and then he saw the medic really talking to me, and the medic was basically like, "Hey, if you're not going to make it, let me know." Like, and I was like, "Okay," and then he pulled me in. He's like, "No, if you're not going to make it, let me know." I'm like, "Okay," you know what I mean? And then like he turns around, and I see him say something to the pilot, and basically like he says like we're about to lose him, and then the pilot just hit some type of overdrive, and I'm pretty sure they were running it in the red. And
Mm.
it was just like the helicopter just picked up an enormous amount of speed. And so then we're going. I don't really remember how long the flight was. It wasn't that, it couldn't have been very long because, like I said, we're only like 30, 35 miles away from Baghdad. And then land in the med and pop us off, and then it's just like out of a move, like, you know, out of the show ER where you're on gurneys and they're you know what I mean, going down
Yeah.
hallways and whatnot, and they're trying to talk to you, and it's just kind of it's extremely overwhelming. And then they wheel us both into this one room, and it felt like we were like just so far apart. It felt like it was, you know, like 25 meters. You know what I mean? Like apart from each other. And we kind of both just look at each other and we're like, okay, you know, like good luck, you know. And then this is where all kind of the things that goes back to, like, you know, when I was younger, I was like, you know, I want to be the strongest, bravest, you know, most, you know, this and this. And, you know, the universe won't, you know, it's not going to give it to you. You know, I mean, it'll give you the opportunity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so all of these
You have to
things that I
seize it.
wished for, yep. And then it gives me the opportunity because it gives me the chance to experience that, which will make you brave, experience that, which will make you tough. And I remember, like, so they put us there, and there's all these people around me, and I just started going around the table. I'm like, "Are you operating? Are you operating? Are you?" And I get to this one guy, and he was like, "I'm not operating, but I'll be there." And I'm like, "Okay." And I was like, "Don't cut my hand off." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Please, please, please don't cut my hand off." And he kind of looks at my hand, looks at me, does kind of take, and he's like, "If you wake up," he's like, "I'll do what I can." He's like, "But if you wake up without it, don't be pissed." And I'm like, "All right, I've done what I can." And so it's good in the fact that I didn't have morphine for that entire, you know, 45-minute hour, because it's a
Mm.
chance I might not have been able to back and make that plea to him.
Mm.
And so basically after that, this one guy comes up to me and is like, "Do you need anything? Can I get you anything?" And I was like, "Knock me out." He's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Put me to fucking sleep." I was like, "Sleep." I was like, "I want to end this. Like, this day is over. End this day." Oh, and I see one guy kind of like nod, and then I just like, and then so next thing I
It's it's
know, I
it's it's wild because if you think about it, so I didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah, no, no,
It's
good.
almost like if that medic had given you that morphine, like would you fucking be here right now? Because you probably would have went to sleep.
Yeah,
You
that's
know
a
what I
very
mean?
good, yeah,
Or And
Hmm.
especially if medevac birds can't get in and you guys
Uh-huh.
had to drive out there and then you had to run out there, you probably had to carry that fucking medic that stuck himself. You know what I mean? So everything happens for a reason, man. That's fucking wild.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, yeah, and everything. I always kind of believe this too. Is I mean, like if you believe in a God or a universe or just something that is bigger than you can't explain all this. So whether you want to believe it, which belief or which explanation you're okay with, one of the things that you kind of have to go back to is like, how would we be able, to kind of sit here and reflect of all the crazy shit that's happened? I mean, like if I hadn't had all that, go on, I who knows where and what would have happened. And it's just
Yeah.
something like I try and ponder back. I'm like, because it took me a really long time to come home. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's I have other like kind of stuff to like as far as a progression of
Yeah, of course.
story. But yeah, but so I wake up and I just see like huge bandage, but I can see my fingertips. I'm like, oh, thank God. I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? And then so like I asked him like, hey, there's a guy I came in here with like like where is he? Did he live? And like, yeah, he lived like, but he's in a coma right now. Like, and like
Mm.
I was like, okay, I was like, where is he? Can I go see him? And they're like, yeah. So I got up out of bed and walked down and went down to the ICU, which was even fucking crazier too, because you were just seeing the worst of the worst inside the ICU. And
Hmm.
there was like this little, she must have been like maybe like 8 months old, 9 months old, and just like covered head to toe in bandages. And there was this, a civilian, Iraqi civilian father just sitting there. And I was just like, I mean, I even remember just saying the words like, I'm so sorry, and then, but I see Pitts, he's in his, in bed and he's got tubes and all this other shit. So write him on a little note and fucking kind of stick it right there for him. And then I go back, and then so what's crazy is so like he said Pitts woke up like I I think it was like a day later, and afterwards like we kind of were talking back and forth, and going back like kind of conversing like do you remember this? No, this is what happened. Oh, okay, that's what I thought this happened. You know what I mean? And one of the things that he said was that he woke up during surgery. And so, like, he's split from sternum down to groin, and they're just
Mm.
kind of rooting around inside of him. And, but he said that what really drew him out of like sleep was he was hearing this screaming. And then he kind of was like, what? And he looks over, and I'm flipped over on my stomach, and there's like a guy at each appendage, like holding me down, and there's somebody with a wire brush just scraping my hand, and I'm screaming, like he said, at the top of my lungs, and I'm thrashing around. I don't remember any of it. And then like the anesthesiologist kind of was like, whoa, hey, you know what I mean? Like you're not supposed to be awake. And then he just remembers like
Fuck,
and he goes
man.
back out, and so. Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And then
that's
what's
wild.
even yeah, well what's even crazier is that so like afterwards I'll talk about this. I contracted for Blackwater and for Triple Canopy,
Hmm.
and we lived at a place called the Man Camp. And it's right down from where the old embassy was before they had that big huge monstrosity of one. But it's right next to the cache. And then so it was one of the times that we had like kind of off pool day. I went down there and I gotta go and I'm like, this has to be it. You know what I mean? And so the courtyard where we landed, small. It looked so much bigger when we like came in. And then
Hmm.
like I remember like long one like long hallways, this. No, it's just like in, there you are. And then the room that we got operated on, like I could have like got out and reached over and touched where Pitts was at. You know what I mean? It was actually a very,
That's
very
wild.
small room that we were being operated on. And so it's just weird what your body kind of like brings in, remembers, and there's like kind of that creation of just like that depth. So
Yeah.
yeah, but then
Now going
so
down memory lane, did it help with did it help at all as far as like remembering like being here and remembering what I went through is actually soothing, you know what I mean? Did you get that
yeah,
feeling
yeah.
at all?
Oh yeah, no, it's just I'm thankful for it. You know what I mean? Like I everybody always says, like thank you. I'm like, well, first of all, and I hate, and I don't, and I'm very grateful that people have the kindness and the courtesy to say thank you. But it's like one of those things, like I feel like the people who joined after 9/11, you know what I mean, that were like what those motherfuckers did what, you know what I mean, like those are the people I thank, you know what I mean, like I joined, I was basically homeless, I mean, didn't have anywhere else to go. So I went. And then also at the same point in time, like, there's this one cartoon I saw where, there's an old man, he's wearing, veteran's hat, sitting in a wheelchair, and someone's like, thank you for your service. And the veteran's looking at him and he has like all these little bubbles, what he's thinking. And it shows him on a beach chasing girls with his friends. It shows him drinking in the barracks. It shows him,
Oh, the
going
good
on road
times.
trips. Yeah, and I'm just like, no, trust me, it was one of the best experiences you could possibly have. One of the like, the best growth, as far as like, instilling wisdom and virtue and righteousness, like all these things mixed up into a one bubble that there's just it's. I mean, I look at it now and I just can't envision not joining. I don't know about you, like, yeah, I
Oh,
mean, I
absolutely,
can't.
dude. Like I wouldn't change a fucking thing, and I
Hmm.
would do it all over again.
I
Just because
know.
the person that I am now, I have everything to think for. Like if it wasn't for me starting when I did and what I went through, I would not be this person right now.
Oh
It's
yeah.
I wouldn't change it for anything. You know what I
I
mean?
wouldn't either.
But yeah. But with
Yeah,
all that said, we'll jump to the very beginning, and
yeah,
because you mentioned you were homeless, right? So,
yeah.
how was upbringing for you, and what led you to joining the military to begin with?
All right. So my childhood was absolutely fucking terrible. There's just no easy way to say it.
Join the
It
club.
was fucking terrible. Like I can't even express to you. Like there were so many times where I mean I just had to grow up insanely early, and I remember just being 8 years old, and I'm like, this is bullshit. Yeah, I mean, like I am 8 years old. I should not be dealing with this shit. You know what I mean? Like, and so but it kind of it almost like hindered me. So when I went into high school and whatnot, I was just kind of viewed as like a weird guy. But it's just because I'm like, no, I'm just maturely.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot more in my brain. I'm more thinking about this, and this, while you guys are thinking about that. And so yeah, so it was just kind of back and forth. Mom was a drug addict. Dad, just really didn't know what to do, and my grandfather was a bubble gunner on bombers in World War II. Got shot down a couple
Nice.
times, had massive PTSD, but I mean, my dad's side of the family is all extremely brilliant. You know what I mean? Like, so my grandfather, he was a doctor and ended up being an archaeologist as well. My grandmother was a librarian, and my aunt is the dean at a college in a medical college in Portland, Oregon for nursing. Yeah, I mean, and then like my father equally as brilliant. He just kind of didn't really go the college route, and he wanted to be like an artist. You know what I mean? But it was just kind of, I don't know. He just didn't really know how to respond to it. But with my mom and how outlandish, her drug use and just antics were. And so they ended up getting a divorce, really, really messy, back and forth, through and through. And like I said, I could not get the fuck out of there fast enough. You know what I mean? And in my household, I have two older sisters, or stepsisters, but I've known them my whole life. Kind of a weird, crazy story. My stepmom was adopted into my family, and then my real mom and her were best friends growing up. And then when my mom had to go to treatment, drug rehab, her and my dad had an affair. They've been together for like 20, almost 30 years now, but
Mm.
still, wasn't very cool for the time. And then, so, I mean, it was just a lot of really not good, environmental things growing up.
And
And
all that shit
I
was
just kind
preparing you for Iraq. You didn't know
yes.
about it.
And, yeah. Oh, and that's one of the things I remember even in basic training, I'm like, you know what I
This is
mean? Like, it's
nothing.
all you got? Shit. I did this on every Tuesday with my fucking
Yeah.
stepmom. You know what I mean? Like, and so, yeah, and then like, well, recently, to tell you the truth, like, it was just kind of by chance. I knew I wasn't going to go to college, and I knew And at that point in time, like I knew my parents weren't going to pay for college, and I knew I was like, I no way in hell am I going to go $100,000 into debt, like to start my life. And so to me, I was like, why would I sit and study? I mean, to get good grades when it's really not going to do me anything. I'd rather go work and go do this. So like education kind of took a back seat, and it was just basically pass, get by, and kind of live my life. But I knew that also at the same point in time, I was like, I'm not going to go get a job at Jiffy Lube. No offense to anyone who works at
Hmm.
Jiffy Lube, but you know what I mean? Like I was like, I just had something grander. And also, you gotta think to yourself, it's like, again, like we were raised in the 80s and 90s. That was before the internet, before all the stuff we had, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, and America is great. And there was like, they'll
Hmm.
never find more
It was
patriotism.
manly man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like the amount of just patriotism that was instilled in us. We had Hulk Hogan versus, Andre the
Hmm.
Giant, the Iron Sheik, all these things that were, I mean, like, America is, freedom, justice, and the American way. As
Absolutely.
Superman used to say, and used to. And so, but yeah, like, so uh, going through that, I was originally join the Coast Guard because the Coast Guard recruiter was just the first one to get a hold of me. Yeah, I mean, and that kind of sounded cool. And I mean, more times I looked at it too. I don't think I've ever met anyone who joined the Coast Guard and didn't do 20 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's just everybody does. But then one time, like, I went through MEPS and did all the other stuff, and I was just kind of waiting. Got all the med stuff done. Then we had a friend who was a year ahead of us come home on hometown recruiting and was like, the Army, do this, this, and this. We talked to recruiters, and I'm like, okay, cool. And so me and my best friend at the time, we joined in the buddy program.
Oh,
You know what I
nice.
mean? Yeah, yeah. And so, got to go through a bunch of training and whatnot. We ended up getting split. I went to 10th Mountain, he went to the 82nd. And then, yeah, but it was just kind of, I could not get the fuck out of my hometown fast enough.
Where's home for you?
Home is in Washington State. So I live
Washington
in
State. Gotcha.
yeah, yeah. So I live in a town called Tri Cities, Washington. And it's actually like, it's three cities, Richland, Kennewick, Pasco, and technically it's a fourth city, but semantics. uh, so what we're kind of famous for, it's a massive sprawling suburbia. There's really no skyscrapers or anything like that, but the nuclear power plant that made the plutonium triggers for Hiroshima and Nagasaki and a number of other things were made here in my
Oh,
hometown.
nice.
And now we have
Nice.
another nuclear power plant and a bunch of green energy, cancer research. So that's kind of what keeps this town afloat. Uh, yeah, it was a good Washington was a good place up till 2008. You know what I mean? Like
Until all the
nine.
once all the liberals moved down there.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, and then also, I mean, like it used to be. I remember going, like walking into gun shops and being able to, if you had 10 grand, you could buy a Ma Deuce. It was sitting on the fucking
Hmm.
showroom floor. You know what I mean? Or all these other. Yeah, it was great. It was like the perfect
Yeah.
mixture of like hippie and conservative, and everyone just didn't step on each other's toes.
Things have changed to say the least.
Mm,
So now you
yes.
you get to so prior to signing up, did you talk to mom, dad, grandpa? Like, did you talk to any of them, or you just wanted to get out of there and that was
No, no,
your
yeah,
reason? Yeah.
no, no, I didn't talk to any of them. I just told them I did. And then they were just like, basically said, okay, well, you have to do something with computers. I'm like, oh. And I was like, infantry, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But also at the same point in time, but when I graduated high school, I was like 150 pounds. You know what I mean? Like I weigh like 230 now. And so it was just like I had a chip on my shoulder. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be like all of my heroes that I grew up watching. And so that was kind of my movement and I gravitated towards. And that's why I almost like, kind of see it to believe it to produce it, and so
Yeah.
I was not going to fail in the military because I
Yeah.
had nowhere else to go.
I gotcha. I gotcha. So now you get done with basic, you go to 10th Mountain. Um, what happens after your injury? Like, did you get immediately like med drop? Like,
Yeah, so
what happens
well,
next?
with
Well,
how
not med drop, but
insane,
medical discharge. Yeah.
yeah, medically discharged. Yeah. Well, I got, yeah, medically retired. And so, yeah, it was basically got back. And I mean, I was originally at Walter Reed. So I went from Baghdad to Vatil, Longshul, Walter Reed. And I had like a surgery on every stop. And then they were like, hey, you're going to be living here for about 2 years. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
they were like, we're going to cut you open. You're going to heal, and then we're going to cut you open again. And
So
so
now
they,
is
yeah,
that
there
for
was,
your, is that your arm, your leg, or did you have additional injuries?
yeah. So injuries total. Oh yeah. So I wake up and then like essentially they're like, yep, saved your hand. You know this, and this. Like, thank goodness you reminded me. One of the things that was so like kind of stroke of luck was there just happened to be, because at the very beginning of the war we had our surgeons and we had our med team there, but they just were not used to dealing with the carnage of IEDs and everything
They
else.
didn't
You know
know
what I mean?
what
They
to
were
expect, man. They did
no,
not
and
know what to expect. And this
no,
is
and they were
'03.
just yeah, and
Yeah.
they're just like, whoa, holy shit. And so, well, they started bringing in like vascular surgeons, you know what I mean? Because you'd have a guy with the National Guard unit who is a doctor, and but he would be, your local ER doctor that would deal with, like old man coming in and having chest
Hmm.
palpitations or anything like that. So they had to start bringing in all of these professional, like, top of the line, whatever their kind of majority of the injuries they're seeing. One of the people was a vascular surgeon. Yeah, I mean, and I just happened to get blown up during that time where he was there, giving instruction to all the other medics and for everything whatnot. And he's like, well, classic example, you know what I mean? And so they go and they just basically reattach all of the major blood supply, you know what I mean? And
Mm.
so I woke up and had an external fixator. So basically two prongs here with a metal bar, and then they just wrapped it. You know what I mean? So it was like an open cast, and they would just go in, aerate, clip out anything else, whatnot. But yeah, so having that surgeon there is basically essentially what saved me. But when I go to launch stool, they're the doctor's basically, yep, yep, you're good, you're gonna keep it, everything's fine. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I get to Walter Reed, and like it's Dr. Smith. I would be hard pressed if he was still alive. He was pretty old when I got there. Yeah, I mean, just like the top, orthopedic surgeon for Walter Reed. And him and the anesthesiologist are kind of like just greet me in this one room. They put me on the amputee ward. And they're like, okay, hey, so we're going to put you out. And he's like, the amputation is going to be this, this, and this. And I was like, what do you mean amputation? Yeah, I mean, because this whole time I've been told that I was going to keep my hand. And he was like, no, we're going to cut your hand off. And I'm like, no, 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 hold on. You know what I mean? And I was like, no, 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 no. Like, everything's fine. Like, it's good. And then so they're like, okay, like basically they put me out, and again had to like go to sleep again, not knowing if I was gonna wake up with my hand. And then yeah, it wakes me up, and he's like, yeah, he's like, your blood, like the blood capillary response is working. It's okay. So like we're gonna go ahead and
Nice.
see how it goes, and then we'll kind of pivot and move from wherever we land. And then like yeah, so my first night, I get into my room and at the hospital, and then this guy comes in and he basically gives me a brochure, and he's like, so which prosthetic do you want? I'm like, no, I'm keeping my hand. You know what I mean?
At
He's like,
this point, you're like, why you guys, are you guys fucking with me? This is
yeah.
not
I'm
funny
like,
anymore.
what? Yeah, yeah. And so but the guy, what's really crazy is he was in 10th Mountain, and he lost his arm and his leg in Somalia. So when the whole thing happened with going in to get the Rangers in Delta, like with the
Yeah.
Pakistanis, he was part of that, and yeah, yeah. So, but he was basically like, no, I don't think you are." And I'm like, "Oh no, I just talked with the head surgeon. He is like basically like fuck off." And then yeah, so again, and then everyone kept telling me, the doctors be like, "Yeah, no, everything's going okay. You know what I mean? Like you're yeah, I guess we'll see what happens." And then they just slowly but surely that whole conversation just went away. And then yeah, it was like, because technically speaking, I only have one artery supplying like the hand, and then
Hmm.
it got to the final point where they basically said, in about 10 years or so, you'll lose it. You know what I mean? Eventually, it'll die. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Luckily, I mean, I think I just hit like 22 years, 20.
That's
21
awesome,
years.
man. That's
Yeah,
awesome, man.
I'll
Yeah.
take it.
Now, did you figure out what happened that day? Like, what you guys get hit by? Did you ever
Oh
speak
yeah.
to some of the other guys that were there and
Oh
figure
yeah.
out what the happened?
Oh yeah. It was a 155 artillery shell that went off 5 feet from me. And
Mm,
one of the gracious and another, things that lined up for me was that like the road that we travel on, it was a dirt road. Well, this road was in between two buildings. Like I said, you had to go underneath that overpass where the train tracks were at. So, I mean, it forced you to go through this. So all vehicles traveling through this. So we're talking probably some of the most packed dirt on this earth. You know what I mean? And where they dug the IED, was loose, and explosives will always take the easiest,
mm,
the easiest point
path.
of travel. And so where they dug, they couldn't dig into the road, so they dug right next to the road. I mean, with all that compact dirt from the travel, and so the 155 artillery shell that detonated, the main cone went this way, and I caught the secondary cone. Yeah, I mean, so had that been dug and put in a place where we could have pink mist. I mean, it
Yeah,
would have
yeah,
been,
you would have been
you
done.
know, seeing black, nothing. You know what I mean? Or whatever journey awaits after this one. But
Yeah,
yeah, so extremely, extremely lucky. And yeah, so 155, about 5 feet from me. Like again, could have reached out and probably touched it. And
that's wild.
yeah, it was just deafening, violent.
Yeah. Now, did your buddy, is he doing all right also till this day?
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
he's,
no,
he's
so like I said, he ended up losing 3 feet of intestine, punctured his bladder, hit his colon, severed where the femoral artery, got some really gnarly zipper, like, from sternum to groin. He is the assistant principal at a middle school
good.
right now.
Good for
Yeah,
him. Good for him.
yeah, yeah.
Good for him.
And so,
So now you
yeah,
end up, is it 2 years at Walter Reed, or did you end up staying the entire 2 years?
so what happened is like, so this is like during the congressional, like, so during this time at Walter Reed, they were having like National Guard units come in and basically being in charge of us. And for
Hmm.
whatever reason, like these National Guard units, like we were like scum to them. Like we were like the reason why they had to work. You know what I mean? And the way that they would talk to
Motherfuckers.
people. Oh yeah, like there was like this one guy, I was sitting in front, and like this guy who's missing an arm, and he has his paperwork kind of underneath this, and then like something happened, he dropped it, and the guy, it landed kind of next to the guy's feet that has all limbs and whatnot, and it was almost like, hey, can you help me out? And the guy was like, what, you want me to grow you back another arm? I mean, just say
Oh,
like
dude.
shit like that, and like, or like this one, like this chick came up and she didn't even know how to like lead like like a platoon, attempt, I mean, they couldn't have no idea what commands were, this, and this. And she basically was like, I don't give a fuck if you're in a wheelchair, you will come down to formation. And where they decided to put us in formation was like, like in the grass, this so many meters away from a hardened path where I'm just like, so somebody with no leg, you know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
really, really fucked. And so I went to my congressman and I
Hmm.
requested that I get moved, and I got moved pretty quickly. And then
That's
shortly after
awesome.
that, they had congressional hearings on that. And so I ended up back at Madigan at Fort Lewis, and that's where I
Nice.
received
Nice.
the majority of the rest of my surgeries.
Yeah. So now you get done with all of that trauma. You get out. How are you feeling at this point? Were you pissed that you didn't get to fucking finish, career in the military, or are you just happy to be alive? Like, what's going through your mind?
Happy to be alive. I just really, I don't know, like I just didn't really dwell on it. Yeah, I mean, like I missed just like but I would say I was an absolute complete fucking mess. You know what I mean? Like they were just feeding me opioids, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Which I always tell people, like, no, I fucking love drugs are amazing. You know what I mean? I just can't do them because I
Yeah.
won't stop doing them. And
Yeah.
actually, I ended up having to go to treatment in 2013. Like I had a really bad blow up incident that was either my come to Jesus moment. That was
Yeah.
go to jail or go to rehab. And Yeah, but I was just a tornado of just emotion, and I had no idea which way to point it. You know what I mean? And I just like, I always trying to explain it to people. I'm like, you just have like this wanting need of just like, I, it's like a completely different, like what you should be experiencing is like right here, but you're up here. So everything, it's almost like overblown with emotion, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and it was just like, because at first, I mean, like, with the pills and this and that, and everybody's really very like, everybody gives you a break. You know what I mean? Everyone's just like, oh, like we'll go ahead and let that one pass. But then it kind of keeps going and keeps going. And
Eventually they get tired
then
of it.
eventually everyone gets tired of it. And then, a lot of that time too is people that understand about traumatic brain injury. You know what I mean? Like, no, everybody was just like, kind of like, oh, okay. And it is. It's such an amazing thing with CTE and what it's doing to people. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think that's where a lot of the suicide comes from. It's just like there has to be something that can be done as far as saving the brains. Because I mean, think about. I mean, we're seeing like some of the top of the cream of the crop, mentally tough dudes. I mean, just being like,
Take their
you know
lives.
what?
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
Yeah.
I ain't doing it no more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fucking. Now,
You know,
how did you figure out? Because you mentioned that you had to figure out somewhere else to direct like all that energy and everything you were going through. How did you figure that out? How can somebody else? Because I want you to share so somebody else out there can hopefully get something from it and start. Because eventually you
yeah,
went back to contracting and then you had this amazing career in television. Like how
yeah.
did that shift and started taking place for you?
So after I got out, I mean, I remember like they were basically like, yeah, it's just gonna be a helper hand. You're never really gonna be able to do much with it. And I'm just like, nah, fuck you. And so I was like, I'm gonna be a firefighter. You know what I mean? So I went and became a firefighter for about 2 years with Riverside Fire and Rescue. And I went and graduated to the fire academy. And that's actually where a lot of my strength came back for my hand, like pulling hoses and running upstairs and doing all the other stuff and
It's
raising
awesome.
ladders. Yeah, and then well, during that time, all my friends are contracting, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and it was just kind of one of those like, you know, no, you're not going back over there. Yeah, I mean, but and then also at the same point in time, like in my brain, like I was like looking for an excuse, a reason, or something. I'm like, no, if I go back to Iraq and I leave it on my own terms, that everything will be fine and everything will be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And that was just the absolute wrong thing, but I still went and did it. So uh, but eventually, what happened was is that I had to go to treatment, and I mean, I had to really admit that I had something wrong with me, and then yeah, I went and got my endocrine system worked out, and I basically got on TRT. I got my thyroid looked at, got on stuff to stabilize that because that's what really all boils down to is your endocrine system and your hormones. Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, like it's the only reason that we have anger. It's the only reason we have sadness. It's all these other things, these
Yeah.
chemicals getting released in your brain. And because we go through so many traumatic things, we have everyone has CTE, and it's the little things, like even firing the 50 cals, like gives you little tiny like TBIs. And so that is one thing I'll tell everybody is that go, and the VA doesn't do it, which is astronomically just crazy to me. And
Yeah.
you know what I
Guys are
mean?
paying
Is
out of
that
pocket. That shit's expensive too.
yeah,
They're paying out
yeah.
of
Well,
pocket for that shit.
lucky for me is that I have TRICARE for life, and
Yeah.
so
Nice.
everything, yeah. And so,
Yeah.
uh, really, really lucky. And like again, but then so I got medically retired, and it was on a temporary one. So I was supposed to come back in 5 years, get a reeval, and well, anyway, so I do all of everything that they asked me to do. And I come drive all the way to Seattle, go through all the med stuff and whatnot. Well, there was three doctors I saw. I was supposed to see a fourth one. Well, apparently that fourth doctor was on vacation. Yeah, I mean, and then they came to me and said, "Yep, you're all done." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And well, anyway, they had in turn been like sent me another letter to an address that I didn't live at anymore, and said, "Hey, you have to come back for this fourth one. I didn't get it, didn't go." And then so they basically called me and said, "Hey, you are no longer retired. Like that's over. This, this, and this." I'm like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "How do I fix it?" And they're like, "You don't." And I'm like, "Okay." But
So
then I was
you're no
getting like
longer
the
like medically retired? Like,
yeah,
what the
they
fuck
were
does
like,
that
no,
even
you're
mean?
like, nope. exactly. And I was just like, all right. But then I was getting, benefits from the VA. So I'm like, all right. And I'm knee deep in drugs and everything else at this time. And so essentially, after I got sober and whatnot, I really started hitting the stuff. And that's another thing I would say to everyone too, is that take advantage of all the benefits that we have. It's like we signed a contract, and I promise you, the VA will find a place to spend that money. If you do not
Oh,
fucking
absolutely.
go and file your benefits or go and get and then do not feel bad about it, because they will go and spend it on, they will buy a bunch of paint and then be like, oh, we got to build some buildings. You know what I mean? Like, we got to use this paint, so let's build some buildings. And so
You
that's
know
why I always
something
tell
wild
people,
that I heard before I
what's
cut
that?
you off.
Yeah.
So something crazy that I heard too, and I think a lot of vets, need to hear this because I had a like back when I was a combat engineer doing my clearance. Guys would it's not uncommon to dudes lose legs, arms,
Hmm.
because we're
Oh,
literally
yeah.
investigating these things and they're going off.
Mhm.
And you know, after I retired, I started reaching back to some of my buddies, that I've lost contact with. And, I'm just checking in. Hey, like, did you get your VA, disability X, Y, and Z? And a lot of these guys, man, and I'm sure, some of these guys watching this will feel that they felt that because, for example, that medic that treated you,
Uh-huh.
like he felt that he might, again, I'm not speaking for him, but he might feel that, hey, since I didn't have an arm blown off or I wasn't as severe as you were, I don't deserve VA benefits. And I'm like, bro, you were there. Like you saw shit that you can't unsee. So I tell these guys all the time, hey, man, you don't have to be missing a limb to earn your disability to go to need help, right? So
Hmm.
you still got to go out there and get the help you need and get the benefits that you deserve because the mind's a fucked up, organ, man. Just because you're not missing a limb or you didn't get blown up, but you're seeing all this trauma. Think about the medics. Like they're treating all of this stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're
Oh,
not
yeah.
necessarily the ones getting blown up, but they're just as fucked up as you are. So I
Oh,
say
yeah.
this
No,
because a lot of guys out there
yeah.
are thinking, oh, I don't need it because I still have all my limbs. I was like, no, man, it doesn't work like that.
I cannot agree with you more. Like, I tell people, I'm like, wow. I was like, dude, you have no, if I had $1 for every time I heard it, I was just like, please, just don't. And like, well, I've been out for so long. It doesn't matter. Go do it. And that's another thing I always try and tell people too. Aside from your hormones, aside from the benefits, like basically, like when I circle back for this benefit purpose, is that like you'd be so surprised how much your stress and all these other things are alleviated when you have an extra $1,000 a month coming in, or when you get your percentage and everything like that, and you're building up, and you're all of a sudden able to go see this counselor, get this taken care of.
Mhm.
Like that's one of the things. And again, the VA is the most like bloated, funded thing in the world. Like they will spend the money on something ridiculous if
And
you
you
do
earned
not
it.
go and get it. Yeah, and you earned it. And then, like I said, it will alleviate so much stress and so much just like comfort. Like I know no matter what, like this could happen, that could happen, catastrophic everything. I know that that check, as long as the U.S. government is operating, is coming into my bank account. I know my house is paid, my car is paid, and all my utilities. I know my family's
Hmm.
safe, and that gives me enough not to sit up and not sleep at night, which is a really common thing.
Yeah, yeah. I tell you what, man, the mindset that you have, the because a lot of vets do have a victimized mindset, but it sounds like from your early days, you were all about, you know what, I don't care what you say, I'm gonna do this anyways. Between not getting the morphine and saying, fuck it, like I'll fucking bandage myself up. The medic can't do it. Like
Yeah,
I'll do it myself. Or hey, your arm's not gonna work. Like fuck you. I'll show you. I'll go to the fire department. Like you
yeah.
just always had that mindset of, you know what? I'm gonna prove you wrong, or I'm gonna do it anyways. What do you attribute that to?
Stupidity? No, no. There's sometimes where I'm just like, God, I should be. I know I'm smarter than this, but a lot of it is just I don't know. There's just like things that I should, you know what I mean? Like you're like, you can't run up that wall. Like I can probably run up that wall. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I'm gonna
Like
try.
that I can do that. I can do that. Yeah. It just, but that type of thing too. And then also I really just, one of the, that's okay. One thing that I do want to say out to this is people is that like one thing, if there's anything you'll take out of this entire conversation, is that like we're really known as being really grumpy fuckers sometimes. You know what I mean? Or just kind of like having that snap attitude. And one of the things that it works for me is that when I see something that is bothering me, like let's say it's my daughter, my wife, yeah, friend, you name it, something that's happening, with a random stranger, I think to myself, instead of just immediately be like, you're fucked, yeah, what I do is I just like, you know what? If this is still happening in 30 seconds, I will say something. And I start counting in my head. I'm like, one, two, nine times, actually 9.9 million out of times out of a billion. It happens like within 5 seconds, that person stops. And so if you can do that and just give it a try, you'd be so surprised how many times you're like, I almost started a fight for literally something that lasted 3 seconds. You know what I mean? And so that's just one thing I would just say to anybody is just try it.
That's a pretty good advice right there, man. So now contracting is done. How did you end up getting on Gold Rush, and what led to you doing it? Well, for starters, what the fuck is Gold Rush, and
Okay,
how
so
did you end
yeah.
up getting on there?
Well, okay, so Gold Rush is a show on the Discovery Channel, and what's even wilder about it, so essentially the whole premise and everything started, I can't remember exactly when it started, but I remember it was still like when everyone had cable television, everything like that, and it's when you could still randomly flip through the channels, and well, so I came across, and these group of guys, they decided to sell everything that they owned, drive up to to the Yukon, which is in Canada, and start to gold mine. You know what I mean? And risked it all. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, that is just such a cool concept, to go and, it's almost like that old American spirit of going out west to make your fortune. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And braving the environment and all the trials and tribulations that you'll come, and you have to have a plethora of, knowledge and tools under the belt to be able to kind of, fix everything and do everything yourself because you're so isolated up there. Or I mean, we're talking you're like 8 hours from a trauma center.
Oh, yeah.
You're yeah, you are in the sticks. And I was just like, man, that's amazing. And I remember when the series came out, I watched like the first two seasons, but I was at like Home Depot or Lowe's or someplace, and I was walking by and I saw a gold mining pan. I'm like, oh, that's kind of, oh, yeah, I mean, grabbed it, bought it, looked at it, took it home, kind of stared at it, put it on the shelf in my garage, and it sat there for a number of years. Well, anyway, so I just ran into, somehow through charity work and whatnot, I was introduced to a guy named Fred Lewis. And Fred Lewis was 18 Delta SF medic. He was with 10th Group. Yeah. Um, he essentially had been really trying and doing like the vet bro thing and getting his name out there and trying to get on TV or just any traction he could. And something had happened where, so one of the main characters on the show Gold Rush is a guy named Parker. And Parker was like a 15-year-old kid that was mining up in the Yukon and became successful and is now a multimillionaire. And he
Nice.
started when he was 15. But he had a spin-off show called Parker's Trail, and that's where they would have a smaller team, but they would go to really remote locations like in Australia or Papua New Guinea or, other places. And well, anyway, it is, I can't remember, it would be 2020, and this is COVID hits. And well, the show, everyone's up in Canada. Canada is locked down because of COVID. There is no visas being issued, no anything. And so Gold Rush is like, holy shit, like I don't even think we're gonna have enough, like footage to actually put out a season. And then they started getting really desperate and going down the list, and they were going through all the main and secondary characters, being like, "Can you get a team together, find a gold mine site and money, and do it all in 3 weeks?" And everyone's like, "You're out of your mind. No, you can't. That's insane." And then, well, anyway, they get down to Fred, and Fred's like, "Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, absolutely. That's easy. Yeah, no problem." And me and Fred live in the same town, so he calls me up, and we're like, "Holy shit! Okay, we have this opportunity." And anyway, so we were like, we didn't know the first thing about gold mining. Never worked heavy equipment. Never done anything remotely even close to it. So we pulled out our phones and Googled "gold near me," and then it showed Oregon. Like there's a place 4 hours from us, and we're like, all right, we're going. So we drove down there, and then we go and we like basically ask the locals like, where are the mine sites at? And they're like, well, they're kind of all over the place. And we're like, okay, well, where's the main mine site? And they're like, well, if you head up this, trail, you'll run into them. We're like, oh, okay. Anyway, so we end up going. We find this little, like, very small, very minuscule mine site, and go and talk to those guys. And yeah, we're going back and forth, and we just built a house of cards. And there we tell them the show that like this, and obviously they're gold miners, they know about the show, and so they're very excited. And they're like, "Well, do you have the money?" I'm like, "Yeah, we have the money." And so then we get back in the car, like, "Fuck, I don't have the money." And so then we start calling people, and we're like, basically trying to, sponsors or, people to believe in us. And like, well, do you have the show and everything? Like, yeah, we got the show. And so we just kind of bounce card on card on card. And before we knew it, within 3 weeks, we were in Oregon filming a TV show for one of the biggest, shows that was on TV history.
That's awesome.
And we just, fake it till you make it was, I mean, we lived it, lived it.
And I tell vets this, man, because a lot of vets don't understand what being in the military has done for them, right? Just the confidence and the
Mm-hmm.
I can achieve anything attitude goes a long way, and hell, you guys proved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Well, and a lot of it too is like like with your background, anyone who runs into you and gets even a glimpse of what you've done, they automatically like they have respect for you. They understand that you can, endure hard times. They understand that you have mental fortitude, and then they're going to associate honor, integrity, all of these things that are the basis foundation of the military is going to be bestowed upon you. So, I mean, yeah, like that's when if vets could only, look at it through the eyes, like, remember back in like the 80s, like, someone knew karate, they were a walking death machine. You know what I mean? And so it's the same kind of thing. Like the people in the military or in the civilian, like they have this romanticized look of, people jumping on grenades or doing all this other stuff. So they'd be really surprised what somebody would be willing to trust them with just a little bit of yeah.
yeah, I agree 100%, man. So what's next for you, man? Like, what do you got going on next? More seasons
Uh,
of Gold Rush, or what do you got going on now?
well, no, so yeah, they essentially Gold Rush is kind of dying down during the streaming. Streaming has
Well,
really
hell,
kind
did
of
you guys
killed.
find any fucking gold? That's more
Uh
important.
yeah, we found gold, and not as much as everyone else found, but yeah, we found like I still have all the gold I ever found.
That's
And then
awesome.
yeah, well, I just never I fucking worked way too hard for it. I mean, like I would honestly like
It'll get
it'll be a
passed down
very
from generations to generation.
probably because like I said, I worked way too hard for it. But so with the streaming and whatnot, and then also as they realized way back in the day, so there's a guy who started it all. His name's Todd Hoffman, and he at one point in time was getting paid $162,000 an episode. Anytime his face hit the screen, it was 160. Not every single time, but all he had to do is flash his face for one episode, and he'd get paid for that episode. I mean, no matter what. So even if it was a flashback for something. But yeah, so but then they started realizing that people really just wanted to be on TV. And people
hmm
started doing it for less and for less, and they could find it. And then they figured out that the show was not, it's kind of like the UFC. The UFC is not one man. I mean?
hmm
Where it used to be like, somebody could kind of hold out because they were the star. It's like, nope, it will go on. It will
Oh
do
yeah.
this. What I mean? Like, take it or leave it. This is what you got to work with. And that's kind of with Gold Rush. Like I had a great time. I had a great like I can't again, it wasn't my final destination. You know what I mean? And also at the same point in time, like being gone, like it was right my daughter was 2 when we first got the gig, 2 or 3. And I would be gone for like 4.5 months. So it was like
hmm
basically a deployment every year. It was during the summertime, so it's like right that prime, nice going out, being able to do stuff, and yeah, it just wasn't for me. I mean, like I
Yeah.
don't even think even if it was still happening, chances are I probably wouldn't go. I mean? It would have to
Yeah.
be something pretty special. But
I hear you.
almost. So I almost like and I always tried to kind of do. I've always put it out there. I'm like, I would love to do like some type of like television or movie. And so through my travels and whatnot, I got introduced to a guy named Max Adams. And Max Adams, he was, I want to say, I can't remember if it was First Battalion or Third Battalion, but he was an airborne ranger for,
Nice.
I want to say it was like 13 years, or he's in the military for 13 years, but he was
Mm-hmm.
on the Gustav team. And
Oh,
so
nice.
trucking around those, yeah, I mean, it's a big gun, a big round. But anyway, he became a writer, and him and Jack Carr work a lot together, and he
Nice.
helped write the terminal list. And
Oh,
I was just
nice.
like, bro, I was like, can you please? I was like, I just want to do like even in the background or
Just have me
on the
watch the
stack.
window or something.
Yeah, yeah, on the stack doing something. Yeah, Roger that, sir. And well, anyway, so that kind of got ate up by those slots got ate up by the all the SEAL friends and whatnot, like
Yeah.
the Vet Bro Circle, which I hate.
Yeah.
More power to them. But then I
Yeah.
was like, well, can I? I was like, I don't. You can't make. It's not your final decision. Like, but can I please read for a part? And he was like, oh yeah. And I kept bugging him. So finally, I was like, okay. And so I read for this one role. Where is it? I think it's around here somewhere. But it was, I can't remember his last name, but it was Ish. And it was like basically it
Hmm.
was me. You know what I mean? Like I was not going to have to do very much act. I just had to memorize a couple lines. And at first, obviously he was like, okay, untrained actor person. Like, okay, I'll do my part. And well, anyway, so I call after, like a couple days after I sent in my tape and whatnot, and he was like, "I don't know what you did, but you did really good." And then he was like, "It's down to you and one other guy." And I'm like, "Who?" And then so I found out it's like, you ever heard of a guy named Michael Early? He
Blue-eyed,
was,
black-looking dude.
yeah, that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
No.
that's who took my spot.
No, we need to go kill him.
Yeah, yeah, no, trust me. I was like, "Oh, you motherfucker."
We need to go.
Yeah,
We
right.
need to go find him.
Yeah. And so it just eats at my soul, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just knowing that it was like down to him and me, and
That's
I was
pretty
just like,
damn good though, because
no,
he's a
it
good
was good.
actor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Good actor, a very well known actor, and
So is this
yeah, so I was
for
just like,
this season or
yeah, it was for the Dark Wolf, so it was like
okay? So that's
basically,
currently being
yeah,
filmed right
yeah,
now.
it's being,
Yeah.
yeah, they're still filming it. Like I would have been, actually, I can't say too much about it, but yeah,
I
like I
got you.
would have,
I got you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But I mean, just keep chopping wood, man. Something's gonna
yeah,
fucking come up. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because
uh,
yeah, because I'm slowly trying to breach that space.
yeah.
It's fucking impossible
I
if you
know. And
don't
then
know
that's
the right people. It's
and
damn
even
near
then,
impossible.
even when you get your foot through that door, you know what I mean? It is unbelievable. Like you have right place, right time multiple times and then
Yeah.
twice on Tuesday. You know
Yeah.
what I
The
mean? Like
closest I've got to it was uh Tommy Lee Jones and James Franco. They were doing a movie in Savannah, and my Ranger Battalion guy just I've had him on my podcast a year ago. I was doing, it's called Beyond the Beret, just talking about what vets are doing after the military, etc. And I
yeah.
had him on, and he was in the movie, and they just needed people to play soldier, right? So they was
Yeah,
like, hey, let's get a couple of Rangers from Ranger Bat because they're
yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
And then I drove down because I was like, fuck yeah, dude. I get there and it's like fucking waiting for a jump, right? It's
Yeah.
like if you ever been to JRTC or NTC or it's
Oh,
identical.
yeah.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
dude, we're just fucking role playing. You
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
how I looked at it. I was like, dude, I go play soldier all the time at JRTC and NTC. You know,
Yeah.
it
And
was
that's
a
pretty much
yeah, yeah,
what I had. Like, I mean, it was weird. Like this, so I had to do like a read, and
yeah,
it was in the same room, and
yeah.
I had to pretend like just set my phone up, and I had to pretend like somebody was talking to me, and
Yeah,
then
it's like a self
it,
tape or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, self tape, and
yeah.
then it, it was weird, but it was cool.
Dude,
Like,
the way this.
yeah,
So after I did that, I started taking acting lessons, right? Because I'm
you
like, oh,
should.
I was like, oh,
I
I've made it, you know. Like I was an
yeah,
extra playing soldier, so
Yeah.
Got a acting coach, and I got the book.
Good.
You know what I mean? And I've just been going through it. I'm like, I gotta get because I want to be, especially like military type movies. Like I want to get into that realm just because it's so second nature to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but hey, if
Yeah.
anybody out there's watching this, right, Stuart and
That's what's
I,
it.
like we're
That's
on
right.
deck. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And that's what,
So
and I tell people that too. And then like so many, like, I don't know how many times or how many crazy ideas I've had, you know what I mean? Or people are like, well, you know what I mean? And yeah, you're gonna crash and burn and whatnot, but you know what I mean? Like going out there and like you said, like yeah, getting an acting coach because you'd be so surprised. I mean, there's no really set way to do it. You would think that it's not like, you know, like you take a test and this and this. Like, you know, I actually just watched this one. It was you know, the guy who plays Punisher, the Punisher. I can't
yeah,
remember his
Frank,
name.
not Frank Castle, but I know
Yeah,
exactly who
yeah,
you're talking
yeah,
about. The
yeah, yeah.
actual guy.
So
Yeah,
yeah, that guy, and then like
Berthol.
yeah, yeah. So him, and like the Spider-Man, God, what is? I should know their names, but anyway, but they essentially were both auditioning for the parts and whatnot. And he was telling them like, so at first, like you know, this guy who was auditioning for Spider-Man was to run and slide into the take, and he would you know say his lines, and he was like, hey. So I guess like the guy who does play it is just a phenomenal athlete. And I mean, can flips, you name it. And he was like, you should do a double backflip, this, and this, and jump into the scene. You know what I mean? And he's like, really? And like, yeah. He's like, I don't think anyone else is gonna be able to do that. You know what I mean? And so you never know quite what's gonna catch their eye. So
Mm-hmm.
going and getting that little extra push or having that person with that, you know, knowledge of that space, like that's probably the smartest thing you could probably do.
I tell you what, man. Another thing that I think you should consider doing is writing, because
Yeah.
that's the route that I'm taking. Because
Yeah.
like I'm seeing how hard it is to penetrate that space. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's the old guard. You know what I mean? So I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm a fucking write, and then I'll direct, and I'll be in my own stuff. So it's like I will
Yeah.
write my
Yeah.
own books and sell the rights, and hopefully get them made into TV shows, and then I'll become my own Jack Carr essentially, right?
Yeah. 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 I know a
Why
guy.
not? Yeah.
I know a guy. So have you ever heard of a guy named Ty Mans?
Name
Ty
doesn't
Mans. So
sound familiar.
he had this movie. It's called My Brother's Keeper. He was yeah. So he wrote that. He wrote that, directed it, and then
Nice.
yeah, yeah. So he's got a shit ton of stuff that he's kind of put together and whatnot. But I have his contact. I would be more than happy to set you up with him.
Of course, man, because that's the route that I'm going with. Just because I'm horrible at waiting for table invites.
Yeah.
I don't like it. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know what? I'm gonna build my own, and then I'll make it happen myself because I can't rely on you, and it might not ever freaking happen. And here I am, 60
No.
some years old, still waiting. So it's like, no,
Yeah.
fuck it. I'll just create my own table. So
I
yeah,
agree.
that might be something worth looking into, man. 100%.
Yeah, no, I've actually like, because, you know, like it's basically a template, you know what I mean? Talk about
Yeah.
with movies. And they're like, okay, first 20 pages, this, and this needs to happen. My
Yeah.
dog. I've got, you
Yeah.
know,
Oh
my
no, you're
wife and
good.
my kid are home.
No, you're good, brother.
Goddamn
You're
kid.
good.
Yeah.
No, no,
It's
no,
a
you're
little
good.
yapper. Hey, can you hear it
Yeah,
really
you're good.
loud? Is it pretty
No, no, no,
loud?
no, 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 no.
Okay,
You're
good.
good. You're good.
In my headphones, it's loud. Oh, well.
Oh no, you're good.
But yeah, no, it's 100%. Like you would be so surprised. Like it's already sit there. So the first 20 pages, this needs to happen. Then by this time, this, you know,
Mm-hmm.
your plot needs to be here, and then by here, this, and this, and yeah, there's like a number tie. Because I even said the same thing, and it's just finding that like that knowledge or whatnot. Because it's like I always explain it like being dropped off in the ocean, and you're treading water, and you're like, okay, well I can swim, but which way do I swim to? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
I know that if you point me towards land, I'll make it there. I just don't know which way to go. So,
Exactly. Yeah, dude, because right now, like I'm looking for it as far as those
uh,
opportunities. And if one comes across my desk, I'm definitely gonna let you know about it. Same thing with Bobby, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Because they're out there, man. I just gotta again, it takes one connection, you know what I mean?
it
And next thing
does.
you know,
It
you're
does.
freaking on the big screen, you know, role playing or doing whatever. You just gotta
Yeah.
find the right person. So,
Oh yeah, and then
yeah.
you never know. It's just those like crazy like you know little chance meetings. Like what was it? I think like Matthew McConaughey, right? Like
Hmm.
I think he was coming, basically moved out to Hollywood. He didn't have a publicist, but he ran into some guy who just saw the charisma, saw the magic, and put him in with a really good agent and
Hmm.
publicist, and boom. And it just takes that one person to like look at you. Like I went and so one of my missions, like we shot the shit out of a bunch of people, but my spotter, uh, his sister is her name's Kimberly Pierce. So she
Hmm.
directed Boys Don't Cry, and
Oh
like
yeah.
Carrie and a couple other things, but like so big, huge, Hollywood director. And so she wrote the movie Stop Loss. And so like Channing Tatum's character, like there's obviously collaboration of our things that
Military.
we
Yeah.
did and whatnot. But yeah, but like so I was like one of my character was kind of mashed in, and Channing like played that. And then,
Nice.
anyways, yeah. So we got like we did a bunch of promotional stuff for the movie, but we got to go down to LA to the premiere, basically go party with them all weekend. And then we were at a place called like Club Ledoux, and then me and Channing like really hit it off, like back and forth, like bro talk. And we ended up getting into like a drunken headbutting contest, and it's while he's filming GI Joe. And so if you look at a scar that he has right here.
Yeah.
I gave that to him. And like, but what's so crazy about Hollywood is that they'll sue the shit out of you because after like it got out and whatnot, and like like they brought him in, they were like, "What happened?" He's like, "Oh, I got in a headbutting contest with this one guy," and they're like, we could sue the shit out of you right now, right? And they were basically like, "Don't ever do that again." This, and he's
Yeah.
like,
We own
"Cool."
you for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, shit. But that dude, I will say this, is that Channing Tatum is probably one of the coolest dudes on the planet, like as far as could be such a dick and could be such a diva and is not, you
That's
know.
awesome.
Like so
Dude, you
him
should
and Joseph
start
Gordon. Also,
start leaning on some of those connects, man. Forget.
like we lost contact and whatnot, and then like there's like that's one of the really hard things too, is knowing like, with the lean and whatnot. Cause like you gotta think to yourself as those guys just every day are getting just
Hmm.
bombarded with, or like, it's like you win the lottery and all of a sudden, I got this
Everybody's
idea,
yeah.
this invention. Yeah.
Everybody's
And
showing
so,
up. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's just really like, but yeah. And like I said, there's been a ton of almost what ifs. Like we signed with like Mark Wahlberg, we signed with Ugly Brothers, we almost signed with Left Field Productions, like, and or I've talked with like either way, like Lionsgate, go all the way to the
Yeah.
top. Lionsgate had this show idea, and everyone loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, and we're talking like 6 months of on the phone talking and like working, doing this and this, and then it gets to the top exec, and he's like, "Nah, I had a buddy try that a couple years ago, it didn't work out." And he's like, "I don't really, no, we're not going to do it." And you're like, "Yeah, I mean,"
Dude,
and so, but
something will
like you said,
stick, man. Something will
yeah,
stick. You just gotta, yeah.
gotta keep going,
Oh
gotta
yeah.
keep going.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. If you need me and Bobby to show up to play some hobos, just fucking
Yeah.
let us know, man.
Oh no, that's what I don't understand too, is I would Adam
Yeah.
Sandler that shit. You know what I mean? Like I would just like have the same core group of people and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. Because I mean, yeah, if you could just get a group of people together that are just highly motivated and make shit happen, and
Like-minded.
but then
That's what it's about.
had a budget. You know what I mean? If you had a war chest of because I
Yeah.
guarantee you, like if you just get a couple writers and then you're able to, throw Bobby and a couple other people in a room with them and lock the door and say you can't come out until you make a really good movie. It would happen.
uh, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
working
So
on it, man. Like I said, I just paired up with a a pretty well-known author. So he and
cool.
I are working on a couple of things, you know what I mean? So I'm excited, man, because while I always say, like, this is, so I did 20 in the military. This is the next chapter in my life. So I'm gonna be doing this for 20 years. And when I'm done with it, I don't want to leave anything fucking on the table. So I'm doing the podcast, I'm doing the books, I'm doing fucking trying to do the movie thing. Like
Yeah.
I'm fucking trying it all. Because again, I don't know if it's gonna be
Yeah.
successful, and I won't know until I try. Right. So I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck it.
Well, you know how many people I've just met that have been like, like that's stupid. Like, why would you even try? You're like, no, you literally going every day to a job 9 to 5 and hating your life,
Yeah,
and
that's stupid.
drinking yourself. That's
Yeah,
stupid. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
that's
I
the
trust me,
stupid
man. Like
part.
I have big dreams, big aspirations, and yeah, I mean, but it's just like finding that. Like I have like spurts of motivation
Hmm.
where I mean, like I'll get like a fire lit, and then it'll just be balls to the wall, try and
Yeah.
accomplish that, and then but then again, like people have to be okay with failure because it's gonna
Oh,
be
absolutely,
a
absolutely. Yeah, but again, it lets you know what's working and what's not working. That's how I look at failure. But
yeah
so
no, and then like you asked like what I kind of plan on doing. Like I would love to kind of like pursue that. So like my wife is a wellness like so a professional bodybuilder, but in the wellness division.
nice,
And
nice,
yeah, so we're actually going to she qualified for the Olympia, and so we're going to
nice.
be going to Tokyo in August.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
so, oh yeah, it's
That's
going to be
that's fucking achievement right there. That's a
yeah
huge
3 weeks in
achievement.
Tokyo. Yeah, and
Oh
so
yeah,
it's pretty amazing. But after kind of that's done, like get back to basics and really kind of focus on I definitely want to figure out how and what. And I think it's almost like this is the perfect time because they've had 10 years of just like beta male bullshit movies.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
pendulum, I always say this like the pendulum, I'm like, go as hard in the pain as you want. You know what I mean? With like with the, the liberals and whatnot. I was like, but
Mm-hmm.
eventually that pendulum will swing back and it'll be
Swing
an
back.
equal reaction. So I
Yeah,
think right
yeah.
now,
But
if
it's
we
not
can
gonna
just,
swing without people like us making it happen. You know
yeah,
what I mean? There has
exactly.
to be folks out there fucking pushing that bitch. Eventually, it's gonna go. You know what I mean?
Dude,
So,
I'm trying, man. Trust me. And that's like one of the things I too is yeah, it's like meeting and introducing people and building that strong core, of
whole group,
motivated.
man.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I
Absolutely.
realized, because I've been trying to figure this out for a while, and I realized that I would go to one editor and then they'll just take fucking the money and then they'll edit and then you won't hear from 'em again. So I was like, man, this is
Mm-hmm.
fucking dog eat dog. Like everybody
Oh
wants money
yeah.
for their time and nobody's willing to help you. It's not like the military, right? Shit,
Yeah.
there's no community or loyalty when it comes to this stuff.
No.
People
And
just
that's
take
what
your
it's so
money and fucking
scary.
go about their way. Yeah, it's very
And it's
scary.
so scary the ideas that like have that will get lost. You know what I mean? Like I don't know
Hmm.
how many times where I've like shared like a story idea or something like that. And then like I'm not shitting you, probably about like 6 months later, a year later, I'll see something kind of like that. And I know it's
Yeah,
kind of like along the lines of like, there's only so many jokes out there. So I mean like a comedian, they talk about as far as stealing jokes and like there's only so many, but at the same point in
yeah.
time, I'm like, hmm.
So that's why. So what I
I'll tell you
do is,
offline. I'll
yeah,
tell you offline. There's a
go
pretty.
ahead.
I'll tell you offline. There's a pretty famous guy who stole one of my ideas, and
Ah, I gotcha.
you definitely know who he is.
Okay, I
Yeah.
gotcha. He's probably watching this going, fuck, I hope they don't say my name. But dude, what I do, like every single thing that like everybody that I work with, I had the motherfucker sign NDAs. I'm like, hey man, like I got this book idea and I'm looking, because I don't write, just because English is like
Huh?
my fucking third language, so I'm horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I get like co-authors and shit and just give them credit and make sure that they also eat so they can write
Yeah.
whatever is up here because I have the knowledge and the experience. It's
Yeah.
just the fucking writing that sucks, and I don't want to do it. So I
I
just
will one.
partner. Yeah. So I partner
I
with
will
people, but I'm like, hey
100%
man,
put you. Yeah. I'll
sign
100%
this
put
fucking
you in touch
NDA.
with Ty. Yeah,
Ty,
Ty.
okay,
100%. Like he no, he's got like he's got a shit ton of movies, shit ton of accolades, and like two. I think it's like because he writes a lot of like religious based movies.
mm-hmm.
I mean, he was like black dude. He was a major in the military. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
nice,
Like, yeah. He's and like he was actually helping me write my life story. He was making a movie,
nice,
and then he
nice.
just kind
Is
of
that
got
done or
sidetracked. You know what? He's got like half of it, 3/4, and it's kind of like it's been morphed into. I'm not really quite sure where it's at. You know what I mean? Like, he got really, really busy. He got a couple
mm-hmm.
shows like writing for Apple TV and
Nice?
for I can't remember if it's Prime or Netflix. But like I said, I will 100% hook you guys up, and
Dude,
you
I
guys
think there's a,
can.
because again, like, then we can fucking start building that core group. You know what I mean? Because I have the stories. Because I just partnered with a co-author, and we're gonna because I'm doing like my life story for
Yeah,
that motherfucker. I just hired a ghostwriter because I'm like, I'm not even gonna try to put 40 years worth of
yeah,
shit
yeah,
on paper.
yeah,
So I hired a ghostwriter, and then I got a, like, I want to be like the Green Beret version of, like, let me write these books and put a different spin to
yeah.
what the public knows, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But this is how
Yeah,
the Green Berets actually do it, you know what I mean? So I'm working on a
yeah.
bunch of different stories, man, and I'm excited about it. So somebody like that would definitely help. You know, once the books are written, he can fucking read it and be like, this will rival everything that's out there, and it's actually good. Because since he was
Yeah.
Army, he probably knows what's what. You know what I mean? So he'd probably be like, "Oh, this shit makes sense," you know. So that would be pretty cool, man. But man, I won't hold you any longer. If anybody wants
Okay. Yeah.
to get a hold of you, Stuart, or follow you, like, where can they find you?
Instagram, Stuart McKenzie, it's _01, I do believe. Yeah, I'm actually not
We'll
that
look
really
it up and
big,
throw it in the
huge.
comment
Yeah,
section.
yeah. I'm not really that big on
Yeah,
social media. Like
yeah,
it's crazy to me. Like, one of the things that it scares me a lot, especially in the vet community, is that if there's nobody to fight, they'll fight themselves.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? And the amount of just like
yeah,
crazy,
yeah.
crazy attacks. I'm always like, oh, you know what I mean? And
It's yeah,
I imagine you get just fucking inundated
dude.
with like just
I
shit.
I just don't like, I don't, as crazy it is, like, I make social media content, I don't consume it.
Yeah,
Like, I don't at all. Like, I don't watch YouTube, I don't watch Instagram, I don't do any of that, man. I don't even,
good.
as fucked up as that is, I don't read comments. Right?
Yeah. Oh no, you should.
That's
You should.
that dude. It's wild because I used to, and I when I first started, like, I used to, but I started noticing that it was affecting, like, my fucking mindset, and
Yeah.
I was getting in the comments with the bot or whoever it is that
Yeah.
I was like, this person don't know me from fucking a hole in the wall. Why am I giving them all this energy right now, right? So
Yeah.
it got to the point where I
Yeah.
had to stop. Like, if somebody reaches out with like message and they need help, by all means. But if it's just nonsense, like, I don't even entertain it, man. But yeah, it's wild out here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
It's weird how much you'll take like this, like you said, a random. And I still sometimes do it. Like if I just leave a comment on a random stupid shit, and someone's like, "You fucking moron," I'm like, "How you fucking moron?" You
oh,
know what I
bro,
mean?
yeah,
I
it
will
gets
find
wild.
you and I'll skin you alive. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
be like, you know
So
what? The
I
good
get
old
it.
days where people just get punched in the face for doing dumb. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, those days are gone. Now it's all, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't have time for this. I'm not gonna give this person. But yeah, yeah, I
Like if
understand 100% what you're saying.
if I was Elon Musk and I had $250 billion, I'd be mailing so many people shit. You know what I mean? Like I'm just talking. I would pay people just to make their like go and put shit on their car every day. You know what I mean? Or just anything like yeah, just to fuck like or go like my uncle. Oh fucking what a crazy bastard! He would take skunk extract and go and spray people's cars. And so just like I was just like holy shit. So the car is just fucked. Like I don't care what you do to that thing.
Yeah,
That thing
it's
is
never coming out. So that's
yeah, yeah,
fucking
yeah.
funny.
But
But
yeah,
you
that's
fucking reap
stories
what
for
you
another
sow.
time.
Yeah, they probably fucking deserved it. You know what I mean? Uh,
Uh, yeah,
but I tell you what,
stories for
man.
another time.
Friday we run the War Room podcast. I'm gonna check with the
Yeah,
boys, and if you don't have anything going on, man, we might have you on. Try to have
love
Bobby
to.
on that bitch too, and then we'll just, because it's a military style panel. You know, very team room like. We
Oh,
just
I
get on
watch
there and
them.
we talk. Yeah, perfect,
Oh
perfect.
yeah, I watch them.
Yeah,
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 yeah. So I'll try to
love
get
to.
you on there. We should be able to get you on, man, because I don't know what Iran and Israel's been doing for the last couple of days. So hopefully we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
rip or
Okay.
nut some more.
Yeah,
But I'll
yeah.
ping you and let you know, brother. But yeah, man, I
Sounds good.
appreciate you coming on, folks. Let us know what you think about this episode. All right. I know I said I don't read comments, but I'll read whatever you leave.
Read a couple.
Yeah. So I'll read a
Yeah.
couple. But Stuart, man, I really appreciate you, brother. Really good conversation. Thank you.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Of course. All right. Let me